I've never made bread pudding before, but I have always wanted to. This is the bread that I let sit overnight, and then I just gathered a bunch of ingredients. When I've never made something before, especially if I'm going to be making it gluten and dairy free, I read a ton of recipes. I read recipes that use gluten and dairy. I read recipes that don't use them, that convert them, and then I just get an overall feel for the recipe. So the overall feel for a bread pudding is about 6 cups of cubed bread, stale bread usually. That's why I let it sit out overnight. And then anywhere from 3 to 5 eggs, a cup of sugar, anywhere from like 1 3/4 cup of milk and cream or combination to 2 cups. What else? Sometimes nuts, sometimes fruits, dried fruits, preserved fruits, jams. What else? Most of them have cinnamon and nutmeg and vanilla. I don't have any vanilla, so just go without it. So I've got my ingredients gathered. I've got coconut oil on the stove melting. I have fermented cranberries that we made earlier this year. I've got walnuts that were soaking in orange juice. Thought that would be a cool flavor. I've got almond milk. I have this that I use in my coffee, so this is more like the heavy cream option. I have maple syrup, and I've got 2 different kinds of sugars. I would normally use coconut sugar, but I don't have any. And I'm just gonna kind of play and see what happens. All right, so I'm gonna do 3 eggs. I think I'll do half a cup of this cream. And then I'll do some almond milk, get us to a cup. And then, I don't know, I'm gonna add, since I'm using maple syrup, I'll do 1.5 cups of milk, and we can always add more. All right, let's do 1/2 cup of maple syrup. And then we'll do 1/2 cup of just an organic sugar. And then I'll get that all mixed up. I'm gonna add the fermented cranberries, probably about, I don't know, 1/4 cup, and a little bit of the liquid. And I was thinking you could do dried cranberries soaked in orange juice, kind of like I've done for the nuts. And then I'm just gonna pull the walnuts out of the juice. You always wanna soak your nuts. You can go watch a video that I made on soaking and sprouting beans, lentils, grains. Same applies for nuts. Spices, let's do nutmeg. We'll do 1/4 teaspoon. Cinnamon, we'll do maybe half. Maybe a full, I don't know, a full teaspoon. All right, this is pretty much it, except that there's also either butter. I'm gonna use coconut oil, but there's some sort of fat usually that's in it. And I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna add the coconut oil. So when we have a hot thing like this, we don't want to curdle the egg. So what I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna do 1/4 cup of coconut oil. And I'm just making this up. I'm just using the guides. And I'm gonna pour it directly over this bread. I'm gonna let it soak into the bread, and then I'm gonna add that nice egg milk mixture to the bread. And just toss that a little bit. You know what, I'm also gonna add a pinch of salt. Do a little pinch of salt. Final mix. That was really easy, wasn't it? And then we're just gonna pour this over the bread. And I'm gonna let this sit for about 20 minutes. Now I can do a really quick cleanup while that's sitting, and then the oven is preheating to 350. I've got a cast iron pan that's seasoned. It will not stick, nothing will stick to this pan because it's nice and seasoned. I should do a video on that. And then we're gonna pour this in, cook it, and make a sauce to go over it. So good. While the coconut milk is still warm, I'm gonna go ahead and get my sauce ingredients in the pot. 1/4 cup of coconut milk. I'm gonna do a 1/4 cup of cream. Again, I'm using coconut and almond cream. And then I would use coconut sugar, don't have any. I'm gonna use brown sugar. I'm gonna do about 1/2 cup, maybe a little bit more, and we can always add more. And then just to kind of keep the flavors going, I'm gonna use some of the sauce, the honey, from the cranberry, fermented cranberries. And I might end up putting some of those on top too. And that's it. I'm just gonna whisk that together on the stove, heat it up, and turn that into a nice sauce. When I worked at Starbucks in Seattle, years and years, well, let's say decades ago, I'm 47 and I was 21, 22, working at Starbucks and in Seattle, where it was still cool, and we had leftover pastries every day from the pastry cabinets. And a woman from a food bank would come in every morning and get this huge bag of leftovers, and we would just throw them all in the bag. It was bagels and scones and muffins and cookies and everything, and she just wanted it all thrown in the bag. And one day I was like, I have to ask you, why do you take them that way? Why do you take them in a big bag? And she said, we make bread pudding. We take any leftover pastries we can find from anywhere, and we make a huge bread puddings. And so you think about it, these bread puddings, that stuff was already sweetened, right? They put eggs, so you're getting protein, your milk over top, and it just makes this huge, incredible amount. And I just thought that was so brilliant. Always wanted to make bread pudding. The reason that I was able to make this is this bread was on sale. Gluten-free, dairy-free bread is, you know, it's not great. We don't go through a lot of it. I don't eat a lot of it. But I thought it would be fun because there were these French baguettes, and what a perfect thing to make bread pudding from. So I also wanted to use some of these fermented cranberries, and it's great to find uses for those other than just Brussels sprouts. So this has been sitting for about 10 minutes, and I decided I am gonna pour a little bit more cream. We did about 1.5 cups of milk because I was using maple syrup. I'm just gonna put a tiny bit more on top. I'm guessing that's about 1/4 cup, so we would have used 1 3/4 cups. And then I'll just mix that in, and I'll let this sit for another 10 minutes. When you're cooking, you really wanna use your intuition. And I'll just let that sit. And look, everything has a place. So I know that I can put my little teaspoon right back in that drawer. Never used it. And then my spices go in here. These are the dividers I ended up getting. I don't think I ever came back to talk about that. They slide around just a little bit, but for the most part, they've been great. So final steps. I need to remember to write down everything I did, all the changes I made to what I thought I was going to do. And then now we're just gonna get this into a beautifully seasoned cast iron pan. I would say it doesn't look very good right now. I don't think it's supposed to. All right, I'm just gonna press this down. Get it nice. Make sure it's all fitting in. So I'm gonna do 350 uncovered for about half an hour and then check it. Set your timer. It's probably gonna be closer to 40 minutes, but I check after 30, our oven runs hot. So it looks like the changes I made is I used half a cup of maple syrup and half a cup of sugar. I did 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. I did a 1 3/4 cup milk with, let's see, half of that. Half a cup was almond milk. I used coconut oil instead of butter. The sauce, I did a 1/4 cup of coconut milk, and I did a half cup of sugar and a half cup of milk. I think I might have to go back and watch the video. All right, so just taking those notes so that I can either copy this recipe again in the future or change it next time because something was wrong. So it looks to me like we need another 10 minutes. Let's taste the sauce. It's so good. It's like sugar. Sugar's good. So we ended up with 50 minutes in a 350-degree oven, uncovered. I'm gonna show you. It's beautiful. I'm gonna let this cool a bit and then I will pour the sauce over the top. And this is thickening up a bit as it sits. And then we'll try bread pudding. I've not only never made bread pudding, I've never eaten bread pudding. Okay, let's finish it up. Here's the sauce, thickened up a bit. And we're just gonna pour it right over the pudding. I want to try it. I'm gonna put on a cup of decaf coffee. And this is gonna be like afternoon tea. Coffee. Afternoon coffee. I'm gonna try it. I don't know why I've never had bread pudding. This is ridiculously good. That was a cranberry. That was a walnut. It's good. It's sweet. It's sweet. I'm clearly not waiting for my coffee. I seriously could have eaten the whole thing. Dave just discovered it, and that's how he's eating it. So there you go. It was a hit. All right, we've got a pretty clean kitchen, and that has been my goal. I have to finish the dishes still, but my goal has been to make sure the dishwasher is always ready to receive something, and that any dish that touches the sink must be dealt with immediately. So I just quickly took those dishes out of the sink so I didn't have to follow my own rule. I will go back to them though. I will go back to them. It's a good rule. It's a great rule. If that dish touches the sink, you gotta wash it. You gotta deal with it. Well, that was some fun cooking together. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.